What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well today. I'm doing all right. I don't usually do this, but today we're going to talk about libraries to avoid, music libraries, all right? And let me just start by saying I wouldn't just bash libraries if they just don't really get placements or whatever. I am bashing them, if you want to call it bashing, bashing them because they have illegitimate deals or they, in one way or another, they screw their composers over or they just have shady business methods or they lie or anything like that. So I'm going to suggest that you avoid these 5 libraries, all right? Number 1 is MIBE. Okay, MIBE is an exclusive music library. They work a lot with MTV, VH1 type channels, History Channel, Nickelodeon. The reason I would avoid these guys is because as of like 3 or 4 years ago, they started taking half of the writer's share. And obviously, they're not writing any music. So it's strange and it's just a bad deal for composers. They also maybe want occasionally they get sync fees, but typically you're not going to get sync fees from them. So basically, you're going to get some placements on mid tier cable, but you're going to get 25% of the overall share, and you're not going to get sync fees from it. It's not a good deal. And they used to be legitimate, so they were a brief-based library, and I'm sure they still are. I worked for them back in 2018, 19-ish. But once they switched to that deal, I just stopped working with them completely because it's not legitimate. When people take these kind of deals, then libraries think, "Oh, I now I can do that," and then other libraries might catch on, and it's just bad for the whole business, especially the professionals. If like amateurs are doing stuff like this, so yep, I would avoid them. Number 2 is Apollo Music. So Apollo Music is another exclusive library. They're based in Denmark. The reason I would avoid these guys is because so I signed some music with them, I think 2022 or 2023, and they published it pretty quickly, but soon after it was published, there were emails sent to all the composers saying like, "Oh, we're behind on the royalties. We can't pay your royalties right now." And then months later now, they're bankrupt. And I still have never seen the PRO registrations for the tracks that they've published from me. And for a while, they had the music still live on the site. And I think it still is if you look now. It's still up on their site. So they're earning money from it in theory if they have clients. But the composers are not earning money. So I didn't get any back end or any other royalties. So definitely don't work with them. And they are part of, or they have kind of 3 companies with them. So I would avoid all 3 of these. Apollo Music, Audio Hooks, which is a label of theirs it's also on their site, and AM Usual Suspects. That's another. Since they went bankrupt, they started this new one, I think, or maybe it existed before. I don't know, but definitely avoid them. I don't know why anybody would think that they won't do something similar again. It's like, oh, we went bankrupt with 2 companies, but this new one, this is the one. It's the one. Yeah. And it's weird to me that they're like a long-term sub-publisher, like a minor sub-publisher in Denmark and the surrounding areas. A lot of libraries I know publish through them, so it's a shame. Also, if you want to find some of their stuff, it's on findthetune.com, which is another hosting site that hosts like different libraries, music, so you can find some of the stuff there. The number 3 library that I would avoid is Sync Tracks. I submitted some music to them probably this year or last year. Talked to them, they seem like nice people, but they don't share any of the sync fees with the composers. The guy's like, I've worked with 3 other libraries before as a not a composer, but he's a administrative worker or whatever. And he's like, oh, the other 3 libraries didn't do that either. They didn't share the sync fees with the composers. Now every single library that I work with does. Whether they get them or not, at least it should be in the contract that in the event that there are sync fees, you should get them. So I personally don't work with them. They are exclusive, and they sub-publish with EMI. That's the reason I was intrigued, and I submitted to them in the first place. I don't have anything to say about the placements they get or anything because I haven't signed anything with them. I thought maybe like, oh, if I have a throwaway track that's collecting dust, maybe I'd give it to them. But no, they want you to write a full album for them, and they'll critique it along the way. And so essentially, it's a bespoke album, which you're not going to get any upfront money or any sync fees from. So, yep, not a good deal. Library number 4 is Epidemic Sound. Okay, so they are actually non-exclusive, I believe. The reason that you should avoid them is because, and you probably are ineligible to even work with them because they don't want you to be a part of a PRO or a performing rights organization like ASCAP or BMI. So basically, they just want no strings attached. They'll license the music on their site. They don't want any copyright claims on probably on YouTube or anything like that from their clients. So no strings attached. You do get, I think, upfront fees if you write for them. So if you happen to be a new composer, you're not affiliated with a PRO, and you just want to make a quick buck at the beginning of your career doing this stuff, then maybe you could write a couple things for them and see if they like it, and you get a few $100 per track or whatever for the upfront fees. But, if you're a part of a PRO, then they will not take you, period. Just a quick little backstory. I used to work with, if you know the company Getty Images, I worked with the Getty Images music, and I did pretty well with them, actually. It was a non-exclusive at the time, but they got rid of the Getty Images music, which was Pump Audio, was also another name for it, and they switched over to exclusively using Epidemic sound for their licensing purposes. Don't work with Epidemic sound unless you're not a part of a PRO and you want a quick buck, basically. And the number 5 music library to avoid is called Big Score Music. So Big Score was actually the first exclusive library that I ever signed a full album to. Guys seemed nice at first. I sent them the music and they published it probably within like 3 or so months on their site. And I should have looked into them more because they don't publish that many albums per year. And most of them are actually like the library owner and like his friend that have most of the albums on there. So I signed the music with them. It was a 2-year exclusive deal. Every once in a while, he would talk to me, the owner, and say like, oh, your music's been used in this and this and this. So I was like, oh, cool, yeah. I never saw any track registrations through my PRO. I never saw any detections on TuneSat. So after the 2 years, I told him, look, I haven't seen any money or anything. I want to withdraw my music. He's like, no, you've had music in this and this and this, and we're going to be sending out royalties like tomorrow, so you should get your sync fees next week. It's not going to be much, but, it'll be something. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll believe you right now. And then I waited a few weeks or a few months after that, and I was like, look, I haven't gotten anything. Still no registrations. I'd like to withdraw the music, please. It's been 2.5. At that time, it was 2.5 or 3 years probably after it published. So he complied. So I got the music back. I registered it with my PRO, and I actually have put it on non-exclusive sites and gotten some sales from it. So it's good when the deals are not in perpetuity like that. So yeah, I wouldn't work with them, just based on my own experience. If they got placements, I wasn't recognized for it, and their stuff was never registered. So just unprofessional. And I think the guy was lying to me, to be frank. A lot of stuff that he said never came to fruition. So yeah, there we have it. Those are 5 libraries to avoid. There's more out there, but I would just avoid any library that lies, any library that doesn't share the sync fees with the composers, or any library that takes any part of the writer's share from the writer on the PRO, the back-end side. If you see any of those things, those are red flags, and I wouldn't work with any of those libraries. If it's 50-50 across the board, and especially if they have good sub-publishers, then it's worth a shot. That's my suggestion. Let me know what you want me to cover next, and we'll see you in the next one.